got involved in this project way back in 2013, and at that time was a small play. Met the Minister of Mines in the fall of 2013. During that meeting, the minister informed me that the country was revamping its mining code and bringing it up to date in order to be more competitive with the neighboring jurisdictions. So basically, he told me, he says, stick around, wait for the new mining code and apply for licenses, and which we did in the summer of 2014, Paul and I, and our chairman and a local businessman in Côte d'Ivoire. It took about 18 months to get those licenses. They were small licenses, and which ended up today to be the Kossou permit, the large permit. The objective of the government of revamping the mining code was to, like I said before, make it more competitive with its neighbors. Côte d'Ivoire is a cocoa producer, is the number one in the world with 40% of world production. And the government then wanted mining and the extractive industry to become the second economic engine of the country. So by bringing in this new mining code, making conditions more favorable for foreign capital to come in and foreign companies also to come in, has allowed the government to basically put the conditions in order for success down the road. And fast forward from then to today, or a 10-year period, the gold production went from 25 tons to over 45 tons. And by 25 or 26, I think they're going to be able to reach about 60 to 62 tons of gold production. In the meantime, lots of permits have been issued to foreign companies, and new mines have been discovered, and new plants have come online. So they went from basically 4 producing mines to today about 7. There's probably 2 more or 3 more that should be coming online by the end of 2025 or early 26. So the gamble that the government made at that time has paid off. The industry has really mushroomed, and in the process, the government has been able to invest in infrastructure, updated its road infrastructure. Traveling is pretty easy now in the country. They've also implemented a small, I would say, health package for its people. They're now beginning the construction of a metro in Abidjan, the main city of 6 or 7 million people, and they have a major oil find off the coast. So basically, the country is on track of performing extremely well. GDP has been 6 to 7% over the last several years, and politically, there have been elections every 5 years, successful presidential elections. The next one is in 2025. We don't feel that there is any issue coming up to that. So the country, we feel, is safe. We've been there for now 10 years or so, and we are looking forward to grab other licenses as we go forward, since having set foot in the country.
Should probably mention too, since 1985, there's been a tax treaty between Canada and Cote d'Ivoire, and there's also a 2013 FIPA agreement, so a Foreign Investment Protection Agreement between both countries. So it gives Canadian investors at least a lot of security, or should give them some security in terms of if the government ever does run afoul, at least there's recourse there for shareholders. But we don't, again, as Ted mentioned, we don't really anticipate those kind of issues going forward.
We feel that Côte d'Ivoire is, in terms of stability, is similar to Ghana next door, and Ghana has been at the forefront of gold production in the last several decades. With only 19% of the Birimian Formation, Ghana is way out there in terms of gold production, but Côte d'Ivoire has 35% of the Birimian Formation of West Africa. So there's lots of room for discoveries in Côte d'Ivoire, and that's why we're there.
I think that's one of the huge opportunities that we see in Côte d'Ivoire. Like Ted was mentioning, the host rock that hosts 99% of the gold deposits in West Africa, it's called the Birimian Formation. And, Côte d'Ivoire has a third or more of that rock exposure within its political boundaries, yet it's produced so little gold compared to other countries. So the opportunity there is absolutely fantastic because there's a huge disconnect and it's not geological, right? It's just geopolitical. So that's the opportunity that we see within Côte d'Ivoire. And we believe, what we found at Kossou, for instance, is an exact representation of that. Here you have a brand new discovery that is, literally 7.5, 8 kilometers by road to an operating mine facility that nobody really knew about. So those are the kind of opportunities that we see. And because we're there and because we're a fairly aggressive junior in country, we get a lot of local mining companies that are coming forward to us with concessions that they can't actually activate and asking us to help them with that stuff. So again, we see a huge runway here for Kobo Resources to sort of, take advantage of that situation.
Endeavour Mining has been involved in the region for a number of years. They took over the Ity mine, which has been in operation for over 50 years. They have other mines as well in operation. And then you've got Allied Gold, who have two mines in the Bonikro and Agbaou region. Going back to Endeavour, Endeavour did purchase a few years ago Teranga Gold from Toronto for over $1 billion. And they also purchased, prior to that, Semafo from Montreal. So you see that Endeavour has quite a big footprint within the country. Barrick Gold has been in the country way before, initially by Randgold. And so if you look at the merger between the two, then that became Barrick. And then now you have Resolute Mining from Australia is there, Tieto Minerals as well from the ASX, listed on the ASX, that's there with an operating mine. You've got B2 Gold, who's picked up some exploration licenses like us. You've got Centamin as well, that's also a producing company who in Egypt, who has picked up a couple of licenses and is on the verge of finalizing a DFS with a multi-million ounce discovery. And obviously you've got Perseus Mining from Australia, who has two operating mines in the country and one in Ghana. So that's a 500,000 ounce producer that's in that country. And they are the guys that are next door to our Kossou license. So you see a lot of these guys from foreign countries are in the playing field of Côte d'Ivoire. And you've also got Newmont, obviously, that just came into the game, I would say a couple of years ago, through a deal with Yaouré Resources. So Newmont had been in the country prior to 2010, left the region and came back just a couple of years ago. So that is, to my view, a testament to the opportunity and stability of the country as far as a potential investment can be considered by investors. So we think that we're in the right time, the right moment, the right space, and the right geology. So all those factors should be key factors to consider the investment and a success.
The license, as we've mentioned, it sits contiguous to the west with the Perseus Mining's Yaouré deposit, which is it's a 2.5 million ounce deposit. They've been producing 275,000 ounces a year the last couple of years. And I think what's key for us is, again, our proximity. It really truly is what I would consider to be head frame exploration. If they owned this, that would definitely be classified as head frame exploration. But we're in the same geological package of rock. So we know we're in the same volcanic package. We have the same major, what we believe to be a key, deep structural fault zone that separates the volcanics to the south and the sediments to the north. And what we have is we've identified basically a shear corridor that measures up to 300 meters in width and is over 2 kilometers long. And within that major north trending shear corridor, that's where we're finding, all of the key mineralization. So the thing too that I'll point out is that we're only really working on about 15% of the property at this point in time. We've had so much success on this northern section where all of our key showings are, is that we really haven't explored, the rest of the project. So there's still a lot of potential, we believe, on the project overall. But what we've got really we've got 3 or 4 key targets. The initial discovery, as Ted mentioned, was the road cut zone. Again, we've performed, geochemical surveys over a great deal of this northern part of the property. And within that, we've got these basically 4 targets. So the road cut zone was our original showing. That's sort of a north trending geochemical anomaly that's over 1.5 kilometers in length and is very evident that there's, very significant mineralization there. We've drilled it now, we've trenched it now. We're getting what we would consider to be ore grade intercepts on that target, and it remains one of our primary targets. Just to the south, there's what we call our Jagger zone. Again, it's about a 1.8 kilometer long geochemical anomaly. Again, we've got some phenomenal trench results on that. We've drilled that and got some good, in fact, every hole we drilled on that target on our first drill program hit mineralization. So that again is a very, very significant target for, they're open along strike and at depth, so we haven't closed them off yet. And then just to the west of the Jagger zone, we've got a new zone there. We call it Kadie. We haven't drilled it yet, but again, really strong geochemistry. Very good trench results. We're gearing up to drill that starting in the end of February, early March. So those are 3 key targets that we look at sort of in the near future as areas that we're going to be building and hopefully building some ounces on. There's a more sort of, I guess I would call it a more sort of conceptual play with that major contact between the volcanics and the sediments. We know that's a key element at the Yaouré mine site. We've got over 3.5 kilometers of that contact on our property that does show some geochemical anomalies on it as well. We haven't really drilled much into that yet or done a lot of trenching there, but we will look at that key contact as we move forward as well. So, those are the 4 main targets, but beyond that, there are probably another 5 or 6 different areas within this northern section of the property where we know there's gold mineralization, either because we found it through trenching or the local artisanal mining has found showings that we know contain gold as well. So a ton of potential, and I think what we like about the property is that every time we go back and put a new drill road in, we seem to hit another shear zone. And those shear zones are mineralized. We understand the structure quite well now. So I think the future is going to be very bright for the company on the Kossou Gold play.